Hey, everybody, this is Dr. Lori Shemek.
And I'm Omar Cumberbatch. You're listening to This Podcast Burns Fat. Hey, Lori, how are you today?
Hi, Omar. I'm doing great, except I found these keto ice cream bars. I got sucked into the keto name, no sugar, right?
Yeah, so what's sweetening them up?
Oh, it's monk fruit monk
Oh,
fruit sugar sweetener. I mean, sorry.
okay.
Yeah. And they are beyond delicious. They are so good. And so I had one and then I had to have another one. So I'm
Really?
like, my husband bought them and I'm like, do not ever bring these back. We're
Oh,
both like,
man.
these are so delicious. They were, you remember the Eskimo pies on a stick,
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
vanilla dipped in chocolate.
Yeah.
Well, that's what these were. And also they have chocolate crunch, they have a whole lineup of stuff, but um, really good. Got,
Oh, man.
even though it's sugar free, it's not healthy.
Oh, yeah.
Would you say that?
No, I got you. I got you. Yeah, they just like
Yeah.
put the keto label on it and
Yep. Yeah.
they
I got
got
sucked
somebody.
into it.
Yeah, this unlike you. You're not
I
you're
know it
not
is.
a binger
Oh,
like me.
yeah. Oh, don't even get them. You'll not. Yeah. And also they're not a regular size like we're used to back in the
Okay.
day.
Yeah.
They're smaller.
Ah, okay.
So, had to have two,
Okay,
Omar.
that's fair. That is totally fair.
Uh, and that was stressful, right? I should be eating this stuff.
Ah,
It starts
yeah.
with a C and ends with a P, but it's a good segue into our guest today.
Yeah, no, Dr. Lederman, he was really,
Yeah.
really good, and I was really fascinated by his product. And I was just thinking about what we were talking about off air and all the kinds of things that we had to deal with as kids as far as
Yeah.
disciplined in the old school way. So it was a
Yes.
fun conversation, even in
Yeah.
that element of it. But yeah, he has a very interesting product.
Yeah, he really does. And and it's for kids, adults, anyone wanting to really get stress relief and reduce anxiety. And it's a sensory tool, and he'll describe it to you, but you blow into it and it automatically stops a stress response, which I find really wonderful. And there's so many benefits to that.
Oh, absolutely. And, as we can all attest to, stress has its health
Uh-huh.
things that really affects a lot of different things, and anything we can use to mitigate stress in our lives or anxiety has a great benefit in the world of health, along with weight loss, of course. But I was really fascinated by this, and I don't know if I have the discipline to incorporate it with my children particularly, but I might have some use for it. So I was really,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, one of us needs it.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Well, it's either you or your children. That's it.
exactly, yeah,
One of you.
right, right, exactly. All right, so let's jump into the show.
Okay, sounds good.
Hey, Dr. Matt, how are you today? Welcome to the show.
Oh, doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for stopping by. We're really excited to have you because you have something I think that is a game changer when it comes to parenting and also parenting ourselves in a weird sort of way. So if you could just, give us a little bit about your background and what motivated you to create this tool.
So everything that we focus on is at WeBe Kalm is around helping parents connect with their children and help them calm their bodies so that
Hmm.
they can enjoy being around each other more. But I think that that's at the bottom. There's just more joy as a result of this, and we created the WeBe Kalm device as a tool to help with issues like stress and upset and tantrums and resistance to going to sleep and challenges getting them to focus on homework. And the only tools my parents had was to yell at me to calm down.
Yeah,
And that
that is so true.
right? Or worse, they would threaten me with something that was pretty scary if I didn't calm down.
Right.
So,
Right.
so I feel like parents, if they have other tools, that's what we said. If they have other tools, they would love to use them. Nobody feels good about, threatening and their kids or yelling at their kids. So that's why we said, let's come up with a tool that helps them create calm. And that's where the WeBe Kalm came out of that intention.
What's fascinating is just that concept of the parenting part of it and just how you came about discovering how this is obviously a wonderful tool. What was the genesis of the parasympathetic nervous system that you stumbled upon that made you want to address that specifically?
Yeah. So we found that breathing, um, breathing and particularly prolonged exhalation is a very powerful mechanism to calm the nervous system and to get out of that threat mode, and that what we call dysregulated state, where that's where the kids are screaming and you can't even talk to them. They're not making sense. Sometimes they're crying, and the snot is everywhere, and you can't talk to them in that state, right? They're from the So how do we help them calm? They don't like being in that state. It's not particularly comfortable. So, yelling at them and shaming them doesn't help. We said, okay, well, if we can get them to focus on their prolonged exhalation, which has been proven to help with, there's lots of data around breath work and prolonged exhalation and focused attention. There's a ball that is held aloft with the WeBe Kalm as you blow out. And there's white noise that comes out of the device as you exhale. And that gives you the auditory regulation. We found that these three different pathways all have data supporting their, triggering the parasympathetic nervous system or the calming. So let's put them all together in a fun way. And then the kids would be excited to do it. And then when they practice it, eventually they'll be able to do it on their own. So it also trains them and it's fun and easy. And when we tried the prototypes in our house, the kids loved it. And then we started trying with our friends and they loved it. And we said, hey, we think we have something here.
I think it's fascinating. I really do. And, I'm just wondering though, if in the middle of a tantrum, how you get your child to do this is the first thing I thought about, unfortunately.
You have to spank
So
them first.
Yeah.
right, exactly.
Oh,
Elmar,
that's
Elmar
funny,
starts.
Omar.
Right.
Oh.
So, yeah, you don't want to, jam it in their mouth. What we find is that it's not like a pacifier. It's really an agreement that you make before, and you talk about proactively. A lot of what we do when we work with parents and families is the proactive work to introduce it and say, here's a tool that can help all of us calm down when we're feeling more tension in our bodies. And it feels really good to calm down. So are you interested in trying this together? So you already start collaborating and as a partnership, as a team. And kids love to be on a team with their parents, especially if they really trust that you care about them. You're not just trying to shame them or get them to,
Or manipulate
stop
them.
talking.
Yeah.
Exactly. So once you create that intention, and we actually, in the fourth pathway that we take advantage of is this pathway of co-regulation. And we have a bracelet that comes, one for the parents and a smaller one for the child. And we put that on together and we introduce the tool and we say, hey, anytime we feel tense, we're going to hold this up, or you hold that up for me if you think I'm getting upset. And my children do that to this day. And they say, hey, would we like to try the WeBe Kalm just to calm ourselves down a little bit so we feel better in our bodies? We're not calming you down so that you're less annoying. We're not calming you down because it's bad what you're doing. We're calming down because it's going to feel more comfortable and more enjoyable in our bodies. And then let's do it together whenever we need it. We're going to support each other. And that's the intention. And then when they're having a tantrum, it's you can hold it up. You can say, hey, you can sit next to them. They might not be ready to take it right away, but sometimes the bracelet we found was more helpful than trying to talk to them in those states. And just sort of holding it there, not making them use it, but sort of offering it. It's an invitation because they practiced using it before they were in that state. But to me, it's that agreement and that they're asking you to do that, and telling you that would be supportive.
What
I think
age?
it,
Oh, I'm
yeah, go
sorry.
ahead.
No, I was
Go
just,
ahead.
I was just curious, what age do you recommend introducing this prototype to children?
So as soon as they're able to do it, right? So they can. We had some on the box we talk about. It's been tested for 3 years and up. But I've seen some people that have children that are able to do it, and as long as the parents doing it with the child to me, that's what's most important. Can the child do it? And can they breathe? And sometimes they can't breathe and hold the ball aloft, or when they first start, they're blowing really fast. And that's where you train them. Take a deep breath in through the nose, blow out slowly through the mouth, and try and keep that ball up as long as you can. And as long as they can follow, just them trying to do it and focus their attention on something, that's like a mindfulness exercise almost. And that's where
Mm-hmm.
they start to calm, because it takes them out of that reactivity and into this mindful state. Yes,
A refocus, essentially.
exactly.
So also too, it's for adults, and some of the breathing exercises that we know about, like 4-7-8 or box breathing, for example,
Mhm.
really help to optimize health. And so I'm wondering if, which also can promote weight loss by many different means. Um, I'm wondering if this is something to that effect where it can also um, effectively help adults.
Oh, yeah. So getting out of these high stress states is great for um, making better food choices, helping curb the appetite. Just setting your intention, right? So that your
Mm-hmm.
your behaviors align with your intentions. That's more likely to happen. There's more congruence there when you're more present and regulated. So I tell people, a lot of our patients will say, have one on the kitchen table and do 5 breaths where you try and hold the ball for 10 seconds, hold the ball aloft for 10 seconds with each breath, and do that 5 times before a meal. And notice the difference in that you're just taking time to do that. And having this tool serves as not only a coach for the breathing, but also a reminder to do it. I personally like it. I have it on my desk. I have one right now here. I'm holding it
I can hear it. I
next to
hear.
my desk,
Is that the little
right?
ball I heard?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
you heard that move. So that
Mhm.
to me is, I do that in between meetings. And to me, it's almost like, I think of this breath work, the calming messages that you send to your body by doing this prolonged exhalation, the focused attention, the auditory regulation. All of that is like these nutrients to your body, like food nutrients, but instead it's these, think of them like emotional, nervous system, safety nervous system nutrients that you want to get throughout the day. So it's really helpful for just getting yourself less stressed. And at the end of the day, it's hard to be stress free if you've been running throughout the day, like in
Mhm.
working, like there's a bomb under your desk.
Hmm.
But if you can do every hour, take a little bit of time to care for your body, like I said, we only have to do 5 breaths. When you're driving, when you wake up, before you go to bed, there's all different opportunities. It adds up. It's cumulative throughout the day, and that's what's going to help you feel better at the end of the day.
So, if you can do us a favor, being that this is definitely a weight loss show, and I think it's going to be something that, like you said, cumulative is going to affect in so many ways. Just show like that, like I guess the picture of how it actually would help with the less stress and like the better food choices, how it actually would help us in that weight loss world.
Right. So a lot of people know what they want to eat to be healthy, but they have a hard time choosing those foods. A lot of times, people, for example, the chewing and the swallowing and the eating triggers the um, the vagus nerve and branches of that are calming and regulatory. So when we eat because we're stressed, it actually makes sense. Chewing and eating and sucking, all of that is calming. But a lot of the foods we pick are harmful, especially when they're high calorie density and we're eating when we're not hungry to calm ourselves. So if we only ate food when we needed nutrition, but when we need to calm ourselves, we had another tool. Instead of telling people just don't eat, but they're needing to calm themselves, and the only tool they're used to is eating. Now you're not giving them a way to meet their needs. Instead, we want to replace the food with something that will be more effective at calming them with less of the harm. And that's where I think replacing it. So if I said to people, if you're about to binge, don't tell yourself you can't binge, but tell yourself that you're going to use the WeBe Kalm and do 5 breaths before you binge. And after you use it, if you still want to binge, go ahead.
I love that.
What we found is that just taking that 30 seconds shifts people's, not only their mindset, but also their physiological state. and the need for binging shift. The benefits, the needs that they're trying to meet with binging shift. So
Yeah,
that's just an example.
it's amazing how affecting the vagus nerve, which is the longest nerve that runs through the body, really has it affects almost every aspect or area of health, in fact.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's your gut doesn't work well. You don't digest food the same way when you're in a physiological state of threat versus a state of safety. You also, when you're in this state of threat, when you're not calmed down, right? When you're in that state of threat, your body releases these pro-inflammatory cytokines that increase insulin resistance, right? We don't want more insulin floating around our bodies if we're trying to lose weight, because that
Right.
causes you to store fat. So I'm just giving you examples of there's so many mechanisms, how it affects cortisol, how it affects pro-inflammatory cytokines, how it affects insulin levels, how it affects digestion, how it affects your body's ability to calm itself. All of that can be tied together to trying to regulate the nervous system. And we just created a tool that takes advantage of different pathways that already have a lot of data, right? The breath work, the focused attention, the auditory regulation, the co-regulation. We just created a tool that puts those all together in a fun and easy way.
So we know that it works for children and adults who are let's say irritable or have outbursts, right? Or tantrums. But what about children that are aggressive? Is that something that could be beneficial for them?
All right, so again, I always like to look upstream from the behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of trying to think of a behavior and then trying to extinguish the behavior, I have a framework that everything people do, including children, they're trying to meet needs. So when they're doing an action that we would label as aggressive, I want to understand what needs they're trying to meet. And depending on what those needs are, it's going to help me go in the direction that I think will be most effective at supporting connection with them. Right. So for example, if a child is aggressive, right, and it's
Mm-hmm.
because they're feeling unsafe, and versus a child wants more choice and is sick of submitting to an authoritarian sort of regime in the household, those are going to be two different ways that I approach that child, right? So one is, hey, they're not feeling safe. How can we meet their need for safety? The other is, hey, they're not having choice and freedom. How do we do that? Downstream can still be behaviors that we call aggressive, but how I address them is going to be different. And calming, and this, something like the WeBe Kalm allows them to get out of that reactive,
Mm-hmm.
mobilized state that leads to those behaviors people would label aggressive. And then once they're calm, I'm more likely to connect around their needs and then find creative ways to meet them that are more effective and less costly. And most kids, when I get to that state where we're working together in that collaborative process, right, that's when the magic happens. But we can't collaborate if they're reactive and upset. So that's where the WeBe Kalm helps sort of set the stage and create a
Oh,
quality of connection.
got it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, Doc, one of the things that I didn't realize that a lot of people are discussing nowadays is obviously the breathing is very important. We are breathing improperly. They say we're supposed to be breathing more through our nose and less through our mouth. I think that's correct, Doc. And if does this device help in that specifically, or it's just in that moment when you're using it? It's not like a corrective tool in essence.
It does train breathing because we tell people they breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth with the device, and to blow. And it's the only way to blow out comfortably is to blow out slowly, so it slows the breath.
Correct.
So that process sort of is training, all the muscles, all the respiratory muscles, the diaphragm, to breathe differently, and to not only to do it, but to feel what it feels like in your body when you're doing it. And I think that's really important because a lot of people, they don't have that ability to notice, wait a second, I'm breathing these quick, shallow breaths. It doesn't feel good. But once you start to do it, then you realize how much better that feels when you start to do the breaths the way we're training on the WeBe Kalm. So then later, when you're not using the WeBe Kalm, you still will have that slow, full respiratory cycle, but you might do it all through your nose at that point.
That's fantastic. Yeah, what a great trainer. You know, just as I was mentioning before, it's so important for optimal health to breathe properly because we breathe so shallowly as
Mhm.
humans, and we don't breathe through our nose a lot. So
Right, right,
that's fan.
and it's really important because the training then you can take with you. So these kids will use it. What we'll find is kids will start to ask for it. Kids will start to be able to, after a period of time of training on it, they'll do it without it. There's this great story of my partner and his daughter at a water park. And they're going up this really high slide, and his daughter's starting to get nervous, and my partner's getting ready to have to basically coax her into going down this scary slide. But this time he notices her off in the corner, and she's focused, and she's doing some kind of breathing. And he goes, "What are you doing over there?" And she goes, "I'm practicing my WeBe breaths." And she did that, and then she went down the slide without a problem. So what was
Mm.
nice was she learned how to notice in her body she's getting anxious. She had the old muscle memory of the breathing. She knew what to do, and she had a tool now to use to allow her to do an activity she really wanted to do. And the dad didn't have to do anything to push her into doing it, and was able to have a really connected experience as a result of that.
What are some situations, say for when you have a little one, say age 3 years old to 8 years old, what are some situations that you would use this for? Like
So
specific
when
situations?
so anytime you're feeling really upset or worked up,
Mm-hmm.
it's really great for that. Anytime you're sort of bouncing around and having a hard time concentrating, it's really great for that. Anytime you're just can't seem to, people who can't meditate, really helpful because a lot of people can't meditate, but this is a great gateway into that. Um, People that do a lot of that mindless eating, right? Or anything that you're doing mindlessly that you want to
Mm-hmm.
be a little bit more present for. I have a pediatrician I'm really good friends with, and he said, "Finally, a tool. I don't have to give all of my patients this brown paper bag to breathe into when because
Yeah,
everybody's so anxious." So
it's
he's telling me
true.
about all the anxiety he's dealing with,
Yeah.
and has something more fun and exciting to give them. So, I
It,
mean, there's just so many ways that you can use this.
if you,
Yeah.
oh, I'm sorry. I was just gonna if you could explain to our listeners what it looks like and how heavy it is, because we're not video, we're audio only. So
Yeah,
it
so
would be
you
great.
can see a picture of it on WeBeKalm.com, and it comes in different colors, but it's a tube, like a cylindrical tube. And then there's an attachment that comes in off and on at the end, which we call the indicator attachment, and that's where the ball is. So if you blow through this tube and it slows the exhalation, it will, as long as you're exhaling, it will keep the ball aloft. And you can look at the ball as it's aloft, and at the end are holes where the
It's a
white noise
clear
comes out of
plastic piece that you can
the
see
clear
through.
plastic
Yeah.
piece, and you can see the ball going up. It comes in a blue, pink, and mint color. And like I said, you can see it on videos of kids using it on Instagram, and you can see it on online as well.
Now, how long does the product actually last? Is it something do you have to get additional products, or how does that particularly work?
Can you say that again? How long does it last?
Yeah, I was just curious, do you have to like replace it after a certain amount of time? Like,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, no. So it's dishwasher safe, and what we find are people buy more because they want to have them in different places in their house. We purposely made it a very low price point. It's only $25 for the device, and this way you can buy. And we even have a discount if you buy um, a group of them. So it's helpful to have them all over. I have them in my car, like I said, by my nightstand, at the kitchen table, at my desk. And once you have them, though, they'll last a long time.
Oh, that's great. No, that's
Yeah.
good to know.
That's really great. Well, Dr. Matthew, it's been wonderful having you here today and educating us on something that's unique and helpful, really life-changing for parents and adults, and to help optimize our health as well. So thank you very much for joining us. Can you tell us where we can find your product, WeBe Kalm, and your book, the the 9 pillars of health, and
Mhm.
anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, thank you. So
Mhm.
WeBe Kalm you can find online at webekalm.com. And WeBe Kalm is WeBeKalm. And you can find that, you can buy it on Amazon, you can buy it directly on our website. We also have a parenting blog, weekly articles helping parents. We do coaching for parents and families around this collaborative, non-permissive parenting style to help with parents and children and bring them into a greater quality of connection. And then we also have our book, Wellness to Wonderful, which you can buy on Amazon and Audible, Kindle, paperback. So lots of resources, all of them geared towards helping family and people connect more and ultimately experience more joy in life together. Because after all, what
Mm-hmm.
else is there, right?
Exactly. Well said. And you're on Instagram, Twitter? Are
Yeah.
you on Twitter?
So yeah, so you can follow us on social media. Uh, um, he's at the WeBe Kalm. So if you look for again WeBeKalm, you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all those formats. And
And
yeah, we'd love to hear from people. I always challenge people if they want to try this and do it regularly throughout the day for a couple of weeks, and then sort of assess how you're feeling and let us know. We'd love hearing from people.
that's fantastic. Yes. And I saw you had 15% off. Is that right? On your Instagram?
Yes. So if they put in the code wellness to wonderful, the promotion code wellness with the number 2 and then wonderful all together, no space, they will get 15% off on their order.
Fantastic.
You know, that's
That's
great.
awesome. Yeah.
Yes, and definitely tell the missus we missed her today, and thank
Yes.
coming back on the show. We really appreciate.
I will tell her, thank you for your continued support. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
All right, take care.
Bye bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of This Podcast Burns Fat. We're so excited to have you as a listener, and we're hoping that you really enjoyed the content as well. And if you did, please run over to iTunes and provide a rating and or review. It will go a long way in helping us continuously build our listenership up so that we can provide you with excellent content regarding fat loss, weight management, and just an overall healthy lifestyle. Thanks so much. Have a great night.